Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
The Super Bowl is here in New Orleans, and the New Orleans Saints could not avoid the news cycle here as the week begins. And Adam Schefter was a guest earlier today on the Pat McAfee show, and with one head coaching vacancy remaining, that of course being the New Orleans Saints vacancy, all eyes and attention are pointing toward Kellen Moore. And Adam Schefter today broke the news that I and many others thought we'd probably hear late last week, but I guess better late than never. Here was Schefter's report.
The head of the Saints organization, Mickey Loomis, is going to do everything in his power when it comes to this coaching hire to follow the rules and go by the book and not talk to Kellen Moore until after the Super Bowl. Could it break down and they not reach an agreement? Sure. Is that likely? No. Kellen Moore is going to have a chance to probably triple his salary, become a head coach, one of 32. And if the Saints were making any other move, whether it was hiring the Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver or the Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, or their own interim head coach, what are they waiting for? Why not go hire them right now? But they're not. They're waiting. Barring a setback, he's going to be the guy.
So there's the report from Schefter. Barring a setback, he's going to be the guy. Which, fine. That, and saying you're going to do everything by the books so you avoid tampering, and totally understand that. It's all things we talked about. That's not the report that we got from Schefter and others late last week. The report late last week, Tom Pelissero among them, was that, Diana Rossini, who's here, by the way, was that the Saints had not made a decision, they had not informed any of the candidates they were out of the running, and that they wanted to talk to Moore again after the Super Bowl, so as to say that they weren't done with the interview process. So that's a very different report than what Schefter said today, which is the thing I thought we would hear late last week, because it's what happened last year with Clint Kubiak. So now the attention turns to Kellen Moore fully, and I think we all understand that now. And Schefter was also asked what types of setbacks could possibly occur at this point. Here's what he said.
Could there be a setback? Sure. There often are setbacks. Bill Belichick didn't wind up becoming the head coach of the Jets. Josh McDaniels didn't wind up becoming the head coach of the Colts. Liam Cohen didn't wind up becoming the coordinator of the Buccaneers. But barring any setbacks, we know where this is tracking, and we know where this is going. Let's not be oblivious to it.
So the question becomes, how do we feel about Kellen Moore? And whether this is right or wrong, I do think the result of the game on Sunday is going to be very indicative of what the fan reaction is going to be. For example, I don't know that Kellen Moore would have been a very popular name. May still not be. But I don't know that he was going to be a very popular name before the NFC Championship game. The Eagles put 55 on the board in the NFC Championship game. A day later, Kellen Moore emerges as, really that night, emerges as a guy the Saints want to talk to. They fly up and talk to him on Monday night into Tuesday morning. He's the front runner now, and I think people got pretty excited. If the Eagles go out on Sunday against the Chiefs and win the Super Bowl and that offense really cooks and hums, then I think we look up and we're probably a little more excited about Kellen Moore than we would have been, let's say, 10 to 14 days ago. But the point I'll make about Kellen Moore will continue to be, while I don't think he was the A-list number one guy, clearly Aaron Glenn was your number one, Joe Brady was right there as well, and you interviewed other candidates, the thing I wanted and I think a lot of people wanted was a young offensive-minded coach. This checks that box. Someone without ties to the organization prior. This checks that box, provided it does head that way and they get this across the finish line. And regardless, you still have to hire someone. So, you're going to hire a coach. It is interesting that Blake Grupe was sitting with us 10 minutes ago and said he would love for Darren Rizzy to be the guy. And I think that's a sentiment that a lot of Saints players share. But I also don't think you always default to what the players want to hire the popular candidate among the players. That often goes awry. There's part of me that looks at Darren Rizzy and says, could he be the culture builder in New Orleans the way Dan Campbell has been in Detroit? And I think there's some legitimacy to that. But I also look at anyone who's making that hire, and you're trying to minimize risk in that hire. And I don't know that I could definitively say that there's more risk with Darren Rizzy or Kellen Moore, probably less with Darren Rizzy, quite honestly, because you have an 8-game sample size of him as a head coach to know what that looks like. But we may not get that answer. But it sounds like, according to Schefter, the report many of us had anticipated hearing late last week is Kellen Moore will, in fact, be the guy after, barring a snag, after the Super Bowl.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.